the pessimistic, optimistic, and everyone in between. My name is Connor Philippi, and welcome back to the Minnesotan Sports Podcast. And there's a little bit of a shockwave going through the Twins territory world right now, as there was a major trade made for the Minnesota Twins. Pablo Lopez from the Miami Marlins coming here to Minnesota. Also prospects Jose Salas and Byron Churio. And this was all for Luiz Arraez. So Luiz Arraez is now a Marlin, and honestly, it's kind of a tough situation because what Luiz meant to the city of Minnesota and just the kind of player and just the kind of person he is a tough guy to lose. And honestly, when I first heard about the news, that was a major factor in me initially being a little frustrated about this move. I wasn't like, oh, this is so stupid like everyone else, but I was a lot more skeptical about this move, and then kind of the more I looked into it, I talked to a friend who knows a whole lot about the Twins, and kind of through all that, I decided it was a lot better of a decision and a lot better of a move than I previously thought, and I'm actually pretty happy about it now. So a little bit of perspective goes a long way, and that's why I never make a video reacting to a move like exactly when it happens, because you need a second to kind of go over, as a really big Twins fan, you have to kind of get over that initial wave of, oh, this guy that I've been watching for a few years is going to be leaving, and you kind of have to get into more of the cold, hard facts about whether it was a good move, and that changed my perspective. So a quick tribute to Luiz Arraez, but people saying that he's kind of a reincarnation to a degree of Rod Carew. Every year besides 2021, he hit over an average of 300, which is really impressive to do in today's league. And 294 was his 2021 total, so basically the same thing. He hit 14 home runs in his entire career, and he had a career high 8 home runs last year, so he's not a power hitter. Most of his hits were singles. But very important to be able to just get on base and get the ball rolling. Unfortunately for the Twins last year, him getting on base to the degree he didn't mean as much because we were so bad at situational hitting, and hopefully that improves this year. But just a really important cog in our offense for years, ever since 2019, and also just a fantastic personality. Reminds me a lot of Juan Soto with the movements he has, and just a really fun-loving baseball player that it was always fun to watch, and one of the few guys that I'm really upset I didn't get a signature from throughout his entire time with the Twins. It sucks because 2019 I went to Twins Fest, but didn't. He was a rookie. I didn't really know him that well, and then 2020 hit the COVID and everything. And then by the time now 2022, he's leaving, so I can't go to this Twins Fest to get his signature. Really unfortunate that I couldn't. But with all that stuff out of the way, let's talk more specifically about the trade and what Lopez could mean to Twins territory. So 3.52 ERA in the last 3 seasons, which is impressive. And I really like a lot of things that this guy does. The one concern with him is he's shown a little bit of a late season drop off the last couple years, where he really pitches well at the beginning of the season, and a little past the midway point he kind of slacks off a little bit, and it's difficult to kind of put that into perspective because sometimes that happens with just one team. There's plenty of guys that just with a change of scenery are able to shake that. It's hard to put a finger on exactly what causes something like that, and so it's hard to have a lot of speculation about all that, and he hasn't pitched much in the playoffs, so who knows how he'll play in the playoffs. So a lot of different things, but through and through, this guy is going to be good for us. So main thoughts about the trade, is kind of going into the final main reaction to it. Like I said, it's tough to say goodbye to Arraez, but the trade was genuinely more fair than a lot of people think. I think it actually was very even, and Arraez is a good hitter for us, but we need pitching more. And as long as the value is okay, which I think it is, Twins fans can't complain about improving this rotation, because now after this move, our rotation went from pretty okay to genuinely good, which is something you can't really say the last 4 or 5 years. We've always had those couple main aces, but the rest of our rotation has really been bad. So to have a guy who can come in as our either ace or second guy, and make our worst pitcher, the worst pitcher in our starting rotation right now being Kenta Maeda, that's pretty good. And with some of the injury concerns that we've had throughout the years, it's really important to have a lot of good guys in your rotation. That is the main concern, though. Can the rotation stay healthy? Because we've seen the Twins make a lot of different moves for a lot of different guys, but every single time it just feels like we constantly get those injuries that do us in every year. So we'll have to see what happens here. But I like the more depth we have, the better. And then finally, for Arraez, there's a lot of other guys that are going to be able to step up in the infield. You know, with the pitching rotation, you know, we've got a lot of guys that are great depth pieces, but guys that we really were concerned about having to watch them come in and immediately us having to rely on them. It's a lot better to be able to develop some of those other guys that are going to come in relief and stuff, and will come in when other guys get hurt. But they're just guys that I just don't feel confident yet in our starting rotation. Whereas we're talking about the other side of the ball, with fielding and guys in our infield, I think there's guys that are ready to pop up now and start playing. And with Luiz gone, I think there's going to be a lot of guys getting some fantastic opportunities. Royce Lewis might even be back, you know, even before midseason this year. So that could be a major piece, but a lot of young guys that can step up and take Arraez's place, and you just don't have that same thing on the pitching side. So before we finish off here, let's just take a quick look at the current Twins rotation as it stands right now. So Pablo Lopez, probably, I'm going to say he's one for now. I do genuinely think Joe Ryan is going to take a leap to being one of the better pitchers in the league this year. I think last year he was really slinging it, but a few times situationally he just wasn't quite ready to be one of the elite guys, but I think he really can take that step this year. So by the end of the season, Joe Ryan will be first, but for now they'll flip-flop so that we got those two. And then we got Sonny Gray as a very solid third. Tyler Mahle, who, if he hadn't gotten hurt last year, you know, he was looking really good. And then the main guy that we're not 100% sure of is Kenta Maeda. He will be back. He was going to potentially be in a bullpen type situation at the end of last year, but now he's fully back. But whenever there's a Tommy John situation that happens, especially for a guy that old, because now Kenta Maeda is above 30, so you've got that concern of how good is he going to be coming back from this injury. We'll have to see. But to have Kenta Maeda as our fifth pitcher is really good to see. And then we've got guys that are later going to come back, like Chris Paddock, who is most likely not going to be in there for the rest of the majority, at least, of this season. And then we've got some young guys coming up like Louis Varland and Bailey Ober, who could potentially swing in and make some starts as well. So again, Varland and Ober, not 100% confident in them being firmly in our starting rotation. So I love the fact that we have them as just backup options in case one of them pans out. You know, we can have a really dangerous roster. So looking good, feeling good about this trade. Obviously, like I said, it's tough for everyone to say goodbye to Arraez. He was such an important piece of our team for many years, but I like the move. We needed pitching, and we got it in the form of a really good guy who should hopefully improve our team a whole lot. So, you know, rotations win championships, you know, much like defense wins championships in football. Every single year, there's a team that comes in, and they might not have the most amazing offense. They might not be the best overall team in the entire league, but they have some really good pitching, and they come in there and they prove a lot of teams wrong, and they make it pretty far in the postseason. Again, will we make it in the postseason? I'm not sure, but there's a lot of positive things to come out of this trade. And for the first time in a while, we can genuinely say this Twins starting rotation is good. Like they're one of the better ones in the league all of a sudden. They're probably creaking into the top 10 with this lineup, we don't have a full-on like ace guy like Verlander or some of those other really good guys that can just come in lights out. But every single one of these guys is solid, and I think there's a lot of teams that would wish they had our rotation come mid-season. So thanks for watching this one. Please let me know what you think about this trade, and make sure you like, subscribe, and I really appreciate all the support and anything else you would like to show for me. So thanks again, and I'll see you on the flip side.